Shalom, shalom. First, I'd like to give all praises unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, and double honors unto the apostles and elders of GreatMillStone, and honors to you brothers out there in the highways and the byways, teaching this word in no sincerity and in truth. And you know what I wanna talk about is the princes and the nobles of Edom. All right, because basically, what we have in this world is a giant illusion. And a big part of that illusion is this thing known as democracy. Esau set up democracy, and he set up something called a corporation. And what it is that their elites, which another word for the elites is the aristocracy, they're nobles, they're noblemen, they're noble families, hide behind corporations, holding companies, and democratic or public foundations and institutions, and that's how they maintain control and power through these mechanisms. And that's why the average person, they don't recognize the nobility. They don't know nothing about the Rothschilds and the power which they have over them in their lives. Even these Edomites, the average everyday Edomite does not understand, whether you're living in Germany, France, America, especially in America, they don't understand that they have an aristocracy. There is a ruling class which rules over them. They believe, which hand down the power, by the way, generation to generation. They believe it's all about democracy and freedom of choice, and if you work hard and this blah blah blah. They don't understand this. All right, nothing has changed per se in terms of that when it comes to the ancient world. When you go back to ancient Israel, all the different tribes had had an aristocracy. All right, Israel had nobles and princes, certain families which were head families. All right, when you go into the scriptures, just type in the word, let me just jump back, type in the word noble. You will see nobles plural. Let's get an right here. This is Exodus 24:10. And they saw the God of Israel, and there was under his feet as it were a paved work of sapphire stone, and as it were the body of heaven in his clearness. And upon the nobles of the children of Israel he laid not his hand. Also they saw God and did eat and drink. So even among Israel you have nobles, man. The nobles represent the aristocracy. And the aristocracy of the nation of Israel ultimately represents the 144,000. Those are the aristocratic families of Israel. And every nation of people has an aristocracy. And these are the head families which ultimately rule and control the rest of that nation. When you look at the word aristocracy, it means the highest class in certain societies, typically comprising people of noble birth holding hereditary titles and offices. Now, what Esau's tried to do is do away with the hereditary titles and offices, and instead they use corporate, the control of corporations and institutions. But that control is still passed down hereditarily. All right, you get synonyms: the nobility, the peerage, the gentry, the upper class, the ruling class. And this is the thing. The average Edomite today do not know who their ruling class is. They think that their politicians represent the ruling class. The politicians don't represent the ruling class, right? They work for the ruling class. They serve the ruling class who rule from the shadows. And the reason they do this is because they've worked out that basically when you're the ruling class and things ain't going too well, you become a target. So basically they put these corporations and these CEOs and these politicians out there, these celebrities, and they put all these people out there at the forefront so that the eyes of the masses are on these people instead of being on them. So they can rule basically from the darkness with amenity, if that's the right word. Basically they can rule without being judged, without being held accountable for anything. Meanwhile, they benefit and profit. Okay? And that's how these devils have been operating. Oh. All right? These noble families of Esau. This is Isaiah 29:15. It says, "Woe unto them that seek deep to hide their counsel from the Lord, and their works are in the dark, and they say, who seeth us and who knoweth us?" These devils, they do their things in secret. Right? They don't like to put too much spotlight on their family names and on themselves. So they use like I said, they use agents. They have lesser families that they set up as fronts for them. They use things called holding companies. So they might own a company, then that then owns another company, and you don't know that. So they that's how they keep everything hidden. A holding company is a company created to buy and own the shares of other companies which it then controls. So it's like these people. The number one family of Esau are the Rothschilds. They're the number one. They are actually the throne of Esau rests with the Rothschilds, because the throne is the number one aristocratic family. When you go, like I said, when you go back to ancient Israel, there was princes and nobles among all the different tribes. There was princes and noble families among Judah, but one family rose above all the other families of Judah. The top aristocratic family was the David's lineage, and then David's line became a lordship on the throne over all the other thrones of Israel. All right, and the same thing goes when it comes to the Rothschilds. The Rothschilds, they're the royal, basically the royal house, the true and ultimate royal house of Esau, and they control everything. But the average person knows nothing of them. They don't know anything about these guys. Now, when you go into this guy, Trump, you do your research, their hand has been up Trump's back from the very beginning. In fact, Donald Trump's family is nothing more than a family which has made what little wealth they have compared to them, because they're not super elite. They're nowhere near top aristocracy. They're not old money. Donald Trump, the Trump family is not old money. They only started making money 2-3 generations ago. The Rothschilds go all the way back, man. They go all the way back. All right, them top elite families, the top elite aristocracies of all these different Edomite nations go way back to slavery days. They've been making money since then. The Trump family is new money, and all these new money families are only making money because the old money families allow them to be fronts as part of the system. And you go into Donald Trump's granddad. He came over here with nothing. The dude came when I say over here, he came to America with nothing. He came to America running away from military conscription. All right, dude was a coward. All right, and that speaks volumes, man. And then his granddad had his two sons. One of them was a carpenter and started a carpentry business. All right, and basically one of them went into politics and so forth, and the other one went into real estate. And that's when they started making money as a family, and then coming on down to Donald Trump. So they were already juiced in. And if you're going to make money in America and start making big money, you got to go through the American aristocracy. Because that's how it works. That is how it works. These are the people in control, beginning with the Rothschilds. Now I'm going to play this clip, and it's gonna break down exactly what it is. Trump is a puppet, man. He's not. He is serving his masters, the heads of Esau, the nobles of Esau, the aristocracy of Esau. He's not aristocracy himself. He tried to marry into aristocracy because at one point his daughter was actually dating a Rothschild, but then she ended up marrying a Kushner, which the Kushners is a higher level of nobility than Trump. You see?
I also follow a lot on Syrian and Iraqi sites. I have to go to Google Translate and translate to get all this, but it's helpful. Here's another one. This was on December 6th.
When Donald Trump came into office, one of the main things he said he was going to do was take back the oil from Iraq and Syria. Well, you're going to find out that the companies which are going to benefit from all that are all run and controlled by the Rothschilds.
This is when the SDF continued to move further down the Euphrates, and they took over Hajin.
The whole Israeli state belongs to the Rothschilds.
And that's when they got control of the oil resources there. All right, so why is Donald Trump allowing ISIS to remain here in this area? Well, the answer is because that's what the CIA wants. They want it that way. ISIS has been used by the CIA and by the Mossad to control the oil in this region.
They control Mossad, the elite aristocracy of Esau, which is over and above every institution and corporation. They control all these institutions and corporations. They control all of it.
They were replaced, the ISIS forces were replaced with the Kurdish SDF. But it appears that the Kurds, and I've talked about this recently, it looks like the Kurds are being tempted away from supporting the United States because they know that they're going to get stabbed in the back. They're moving away from the United States toward forming an alliance with Bashar al-Assad, which would put the oil back into the hands of Syria. So if that happens, the CIA is going to need ISIS to go back in, do what it did before, which is to start killing the Kurds and creating chaos and try and retake control of the region. They need the leadership intact. So you may say, all right, conspiracy theory sounds absurd. Donald Trump hates ISIS. He would never go along with such a plan. Donald Trump's a hero, so he would not go along with this. Well,
that's all part of the cult of personality. They said that they set these dudes up, these cult of personalities, and they get you to focus on them. Meanwhile, they're being controlled behind the scenes, man. So if you love them, you love them. If you hate them, you hate them. But nothing ever comes back to the real aristocracy. Okay?
Yes, he would. Genie Oil and other Rothschild-related oil and energy companies, they want this territory. They've already got control of Syria's Golan Heights. Benjamin Netanyahu has already given the contracts over to Genie for the exploration in Syria's Golan Heights.
They ain't going to talk about this on CNN. They ain't going to talk about it on BBC because, again, those are another set of institutions which are run and controlled by this same nobility, this same aristocracy.
So now the Rothschild Syndicate wants the rest of the oil. They want access to the rest of this for their oil corporations, and Trump is going to help them get it. He owes them. He owes the Rothschilds. And that's why Trump has been saying since the very beginning that he started running for president, that he intends to go into the Middle East and take the oil from Iraq, take the oil from Syria. And if you have been following my reports, Donald Trump is helping with CIA drone strikes down in Somalia and Sudan to take the oil there as well, where the Rothschild corporations are working. So I'm making that claim that Trump is connected to the Rothschilds. I know I'm already getting thumbs down before anyone even listens to my evidence. So is he connected? Yes, he is. Most certainly. And I'm going to prove it to you. Let's start by following the money. Let's look at Trump's early business dealings. If we go back to 1987, Donald Trump got into the casino business. He bought 93% of the shares in a holding company in Atlantic City in New Jersey. It's called Resorts International. I'm just going to call it RI for Resorts International. Basically, what RI does is they go in and they buy up casinos that are in financial trouble. They strip them down and they make them more efficient. And then they turn profits on these casinos without having to put in much of a capital investment. So this holding company was created with the goal of basically snapping up declining casinos at bargain prices and then running them as efficiently, as profitably as possible. They're kind of like a pared down version of the company that Mitt Romney worked for, Bain Capital. You just go in, you buy up troubled companies, fire a bunch of people, sell off troubled assets, try and make money off what's left. And if you can't, you just sell the whole doggone thing. Well, anyway, Trump bought 93% of the shares in Resorts International. And because of that, the company made him their chairman. Let me tell you about RI. They've got a very dirty history. Back in the 1950s, CIA Director Allen Dulles, who the airport is named after there in D.C., Allen Dulles and New York Governor Thomas Dewey helped to establish a front company. It was called the Mary Carter Paint Company. Dulles
you always find that these people, like Bill Gates' father did work with the CIA. You'll find that these little new age, up and comers, they're always related with the CIA or something, or their father was CIA or something. It's all the lesser brotherhood. The CIA is just a lesser brotherhood. It's a group of men that the aristocracy controls.
Dewey were front men. Everyone knew this. Well, maybe not everyone.
Much like you get the Game of Thrones. In the Game of Thrones, you got the higher levels of the aristocracies, and then you get the little guys that's just up underneath that follow them. They'll have a little bit more. It's just, that's how it's set up. It's no different.
A lot of people knew this. They were front men for oil tycoon David Rockefeller, and Rockefeller. If you're into this
major aristocratic family of Esau.
Stuff you already noticed. Rockefeller was an agent of the Rothschild syndicate, similar to how George Soros today is a front man for the Rothschilds. Well, CIA Director Allen Dulles used $2 million out of CIA funds to buy a controlling interest in this company, in this front. It's supposed to be a paint company. But the company was used by the CIA and the Israeli Mossad to launder money from its operations, including gambling and drug trafficking. But the company grew, and they needed something bigger than a paint company as the cover. So in 1963, this paint company suddenly stopped selling paint, and they got into the casino business. They changed their name from the Mary Carter Paint Company to Resorts International. Huge transition. The chairman of the board of RI was a guy named Meyer Lansky. This guy's a well-known figure in the criminal gambling syndicate. Lansky was a Mossad asset. He also worked with the CIA. And all during this time,
the aristocracy of Esau got their fingers in everything. Yeah, when you're high up in Esau's aristocracy, basically you are part of the ruling class of the whole world. There is nothing illegal to you. You do what you want to do because you control, or your family and friends control all the institutions, which includes the criminal justice system and the police. So basically, you like a made man. When your family is one of the power families of Esau, you're made. You ain't gonna worry about going to jail. That's why they got the CIA and that there to help cover anything up that needs to be covered up. This is the reality of the world, man. the reality of the world. And if you can get in under one of these families, you're going to be protected. And that's what happens, man. And you're going to get pieced off. Meanwhile, the rest of you schmucks out there think it's all about working hard and you'll make it and there's democracy and all this crap. Nah, man. Nah.
David Rockefeller continued to help finance the operations of this front company. Rockefeller had huge CIA ties. Also, we had massive financing for RI coming from a guy named Tibor Rosenbaum. He was the Mossad's chief financier for covert arms deals. And there was one more notable investor in RI, none other than Baron Edmund de Rothschild. All right, so we've got Rothschild investments here. And aside from his investments in RI, this guy Rothschild also partnered with Tibor Rosenbaum in several other Mossad ventures. So we've got a massive amount of very wealthy people taking a strange interest in a paint company that turns into a little casino company. Big names, billionaires, showing interest in this little company. With all this financing from some of the New World Order's wealthiest figures, RI continued to expand.
Aristocracy.
They eventually became one of the most profitable gambling enterprises in the entire world. Under the leadership of RI's chairman, James Crosby, another guy who was deeply connected to the CIA. Look any of this up. Under James Crosby's leadership, RI started to develop in Atlantic City. What they wanted to do was turn Atlantic City, New Jersey, into the Las Vegas of the East Coast, so that they could help, they'd have higher revenues, higher profits, but they could also launder a lot more money for these CIA and Mossad black ops. Well, Crosby died in 1987, and that's when this up-and-coming New York real estate tycoon, this guy named Donald Trump, comes along. And he buys Crosby's interest in the RI empire. He buys up 93%.
Which he would have had to get permission for that. You see, look, man, big moves don't get made in that world unless the gangsters up above give you the go-ahead. You see, the average person, they really... See, you work in McDonald's. You're dealing with 10 grand, 20 grand. When you're talking about 100, 200, $300 million deals, them top-level aristocratic families, they want to know what's going on with you. Otherwise, they're going to blackball you or they're going to take your money and then get rid of you. Do you really think that Donald Trump was able to buy into this company without the aristocracy, beginning with the Rothschilds, scoping him out and giving it the okay?
This is not conspiracy theory. Anything I'm saying here that you don't believe, I challenge you before you say you're lying. Where are your sources?
A lot of things that you want to do in this world, you got to go through the legislature. You got to go through all kind of institutions. And at any one of them hurdles, you could get blackballed. Just don't forget that. If you want to build, let's say I wanted to go build a giant skyscraper in the middle of London. Forget about just the finances involved. The getting around the paperwork and the legislations and all that, this kind of stuff. They could easily blackball you, or they could give you the green light. So you ain't involved in no major real estate unless the top aristocracy give you the green light, man. People better wake the hell up, man, to what's going on out here, man. This is the real world that we live in, man.
Go look this up. It is not hard to confirm. Okay, it's all over the internet. So here we have RI chairman Donald Trump taking 93% ownership of this massive operation in the late 80s. And I don't have it next to me. This is in The Art of the Deal, in Trump's book, which I've read multiple times. Well, another thing that happened to Trump in the late 80s, around this time, is that the New York real estate market collapsed. Huge losses. And Trump was facing the very real likelihood of losing everything, including the three...
Because he's new money. He's new money. He ain't old money. He's new money. See, the Rothschilds, they're not in danger of losing everything in this world, only according to Yahweh Shai. These guys are set. They got their fingers in all the pies. When you're new money, anything can happen and you're gone. You're out of it.
Atlantic City casinos that he owned. He was going to lose everything. He needed financial backing fast to keep this thing from not just RI, but Trump's real estate investments. His empire that he had built was coming down around him. So where did this money come from to back to back Trump? Well, it came from a company called Rothschild Incorporated, Rothschild Inc. It's a multinational investment banking company. It's based in the UK.
They backed him they backed him because they're good guys. They backed him. Now they got their left nutsack in his mouth for the rest of his life. You owe them now. You owe them your life. These men are gangsters, man. These dudes don't be giving out. These dudes don't believe in charity. Israel, we believe in charity. That's in the scriptures for us to be charitable to our brother. When these elites and these aristocratic families throw you a line, that line comes with one of their left nutsacks, one of their left nuts on the end of it that you got to put in your mouth for the rest of your life. Otherwise, the same way they bailed you out is the same way they'll destroy you and your family and your whole bloodline after that. like Xerxes said, I will blot out your name. And it's happened. There's families today where they, for a couple 1, 2, 3 generations, they were doing good, and now they're nobodies because they fucked around with the chiefs' heads and they blackballed them, and that was it. Game over.
It was started by Nathan Rothschild.
It happened to Bill Gates. You think it can't? You stay there.
Who is the son of the founder of the whole Rothschild dynasty, Meyer Amschel Rothschild. Nathan started this bank at his father's direction. For those that don't know, Meyer Amschel Rothschild had 5 sons, sent them to London, Paris, all over the place, across Europe to establish banks. They started a banking dynasty.
This is the beginning of the chief aristocratic family of Esau. You Edomites, this is your kings. These are your your royal house. The Rothschild, the house of Rothschild, that's your head family right there. They orchestrated everything you got. Everything around you begins with them. All right? And they're also going to fall down. And you going to fall with them.
Took control of everything. Well, Nathan is the one who was sent to London. And in 1811, he started this bank, Rothschild Incorporated. It's one of the oldest and most continuously operated banks in the world. All right, so the Rothschild Bank over in the UK, they serve the British nobility. That includes
you got Prince Charles there on the left. Now that's Sir Evelyn Rothschild because he is chief advisor to the Queen of England. But what they don't let you know is that really their guys are Rothschilds too. Illegitimately, they're Rothschilds too, because the word on the street was Victoria was getting banged by Nathan. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of listen. These guys, man. Hey, yo. Oh, boy.
British royal family. Today, the chairman of Rothschild Inc. is Sir Evelyn de Rothschild. He's called Sir Evelyn because he is the personal financial advisor to Queen Elizabeth II. She knighted him in 1989. That's how you get the title Sir, is if you are knighted. Well, it was the Rothschilds themselves who bailed out Donald Trump. They kept him from financial ruin. Again, publicly verifiable information.
And here he is, President of America. Oh, okay.
You can look to confirm this is Bloomberg News, March 23rd, 1992. The name of the article is Donald Trump's card. In the subtitle of the Donald Trump card is he just got a better deal than expected. Let me read you an excerpt from this. This is directly from the Bloomberg article. Donald Trump. The name is a punchline now, associated with the worst of 1980s extravagance, egomania, and greed. Once, the world marveled at the scope and mastery of Trump's mega-buck deals. Today, he's widely regarded as a washed-up real estate mogul who has been stripped of his once lustrous possessions. In the first comprehensive analysis of his holdings since his 1990 near collapse, Businessweek estimates that he has a negative net worth of almost $1.4 billion.
So this guy Donald Trump was through. He was through. Talking about making America great again. The guy was through. Then the Rothschilds came and delivered his ass, and then from then on, he's had their nutsack in his mouth, hanging around Clintons and all these different people.
Trump is also on a very short leash from lenders. They are maintaining strict controls on the cash his operations produce. He faces several fierce debt payments over the next few years, and defaults would permit lenders to seize nearly all of his remaining properties. With Trump in a drawn-out Chapter 11 bankruptcy, the New Jersey Casino Control Commission would likely have yanked his Atlantic City casinos' operating licenses, rendering them near worthless. Trump haters relented after a plea from Wilbur L. Ross Jr., Senior Managing Director of Rothschild Incorporated.
Yeah, man, in fact, here no more, man. Yeah, you see, that's why we cut straight to the case, man. To hell with Donald Trump and these little mini-me's, man. We cutting straight to the case. You Rothschilds, you Rockefellers, the DuPonts, the Oppenheimers, all you different the aristocracy of Esau, man. And you think you winning, you think you doing it Big Willie style, you think you got it all worked out, man. Hey, for the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, man, you guys are going down, man. All right, you had a good run, all right. But you going down, man. All right. When Yahushua makes his return, you are going down. You and the rest of your nation together. All right. That's the main point. We're not worried about Donald Trump. You guys are going down. You think the eyes of the Lord can't see what you're doing. You think that you ain't fooling us. All right. We know what's up, and we're gonna be looking for you too in the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, man. All right. This is Psalms 149. And 5, it says, let the saints be joyful in glory. Let them sing aloud upon their beds. Let the high praises of God be in their mouth and a two-edged sword in their hand, to execute vengeance upon the heathen and punishments upon the people. So all the heathen, all of Edom is going to be put into slavery and punished. All of the nations are going to be put into slavery and punished. But guess what? That also includes their aristocracies. To bind their kings, like the Rothschilds, with chains, and their nobles with fetters of iron. So you top Edomite families that's been running the game for 400, 300 years strong. You know, you setting up all these holding companies and corporations and institutions, and you pulling the strings, man, and you think you're made men and you're untouchable, and hey, listen, you're going into slavery, man. All right? Yeah? Not your front men only, you going into slavery too. To execute upon them the judgment written, this honor have all his saints, praise ye the Lord. So all the nobles of Esau, man, you going into slavery as well. All right, the Most High see what you've been doing, man. All right, point blank, period. So, with that, I'm going to say shalom.